Any harm done to the environment, therefore, is harm to humanity. The Creator, who permits man respectfully to use creation for the good of his fellow man and for the glory of the Creator. But he is not authorized to abuse it, and much less is he authorized to destroy it.
Pope Francis, during his address this morning to the UN General Assembly in New York, saying that the environment and the human body work together as one, and if the environment cannot thrive, well, neither can humans. Just as yesterday in Washington, his remarks in New York at the UN have prompted reactions, some crediting the Pope, others criticizing him for the political content of his message. To talk about this more, we're pleased to be joined via Skype from Chicago by international child rights attorney and the founder of YoreChildren.com, Elizabeth Yore. Elizabeth, thanks very much for your time here on Newsmax Prime.
My pleasure, JD. Happy to be with you today.
And as we take a look at what the Pope said today in New York at the UN as opposed to yesterday before a joint session of Congress in Washington, it seemed that he was much more definitive in his language today about the environment. Your take on the papal remarks today?
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. I've been watching and studying and investigating the papacy and its embrace of the UN environmental agenda. This is the culmination of 2 years of a long-standing alliance between this papacy and the UN. They have now found in the environmental agenda the moral voice to speak on behalf of the environment, and that is Pope Francis. I think he certainly measured up to their expectations. I was happy to see some commentary about the right to life, about the importance of parents being the primary educators of their children. But there are some serious concerns about this new alliance between the UN and the papacy.
And mindful of that, Elizabeth, and the fact that the Pope is in addition to being a spiritual authority, he is a pastor. Has he said enough about the family and about the relationship between parents and children?
There was a mention of it for the first time during his visit. There has been, I think, only a sentence or two with respect to the family, the importance of education, having the education of children primary in the hands of their parents. However, the impact of what is going to be coming out of not only the UN, but quite frankly, out of the Vatican in upcoming conferences is really about undermining the relationship between parent and child when educating about the environment and the so-called existence of climate change. And for that reason, you're going to continue to see this undermining of the parental relationship in pushing forward the climate change agenda.
So, in your mind, the Pope has moved the climate change agenda front and center in concert with the UN, and the notion of parental rights and what some might call the family dynamic falls behind, both in terms of importance and in terms of tone from the Vatican?
Yes, that's correct. There's going to be a conference in November at the Vatican about environmental and the children and the new UN agenda. And if you look at the language in those documents that are already on the Vatican website, you will see an undercut of the parental relationship, suggesting that there are many parents that don't appreciate the climate change crisis in the world. And so therefore, we need to educate the children, both in documents and in learning curriculum, about climate change and global warming.
Elizabeth, pardon the interruption, only about a half a minute left, but I'm very curious, how much of this is driven by Pope Francis and how much of this is driven by the Vatican bureaucracy, this alliance now with the United Nations?
Well, JD, that's the big question. However, I must say, since in 4 months into this papacy, they immediately began embracing the UN agenda with Jeff Sachs. The Pope was fully aware every step of the 8 conferences on the climate change that they had at the Vatican. He met everybody. He was fully aware of what was going on. I have to believe that the Pope is the driving force behind this new climate change agenda.
Something to continue to follow. Elizabeth Yore, we thank you so much for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. As the Pope's historic visit to the United States continues, more and more Americans ask, just who is Pope Francis? Well, as always, Newsmax has got you covered. Learn more about Pope Francis and his rise to the Vatican in the book, Francis, A Pope for Our Time. You can get this special offer right now by going to newsmax.com/pope or by calling 1-800-203-7047. Again, via the internet, it's newsmax.com/pope.